Welcome back, everyone, to Emerald Isle Golfer. Today we're up in Narin Portnoo in the northwest of Donegal, my home course, actually. And this will be a two-parter. Now we're going to talk about the front nine. It's quite far off the beaten track. You head north out of our draw onto a selection of smaller and smaller roads. There's the golf course in all its glory in the distance there, right by the sea. You go through the town of Nyarn, which we're about to come through. You to go right past the coffee shop, which is lovely, past the caravan park, and there you are at a relatively modern clubhouse for what is actually a relatively old course. It was originally created in 1930 as a nine-hole course, and then it was expanded to an 18 in 1965, I believe, and just a couple of years ago redesigned by Gil Hansen and his team. This is hole one, par four. There is a burn that goes through the fairway at about 180 meters. Not that the shot that I'm about to take here has got any risk of reaching that. I didn't have a warm up. I just kind of stretched a little bit and then went for it, and so with predictable results. So today on this course, I'm going to be trying to showcase some of the beauty of the golf course as well. So there'll be quite a lot of videos of me um, moving through the from course to course and driving on the fairways. There's gonna be some pretty appalling golf, of which you're about to see a great example. That was just yeah, really, really poor swing there. But there you are. This happens. It's a straight up links course, so it's straight out, straight back. It's a beautiful course. It's a beautiful course, but it's also a pretty tough course, especially when the wind is blowing. The wind wasn't particularly ferocious this day, although it was windy enough, certainly, to get over into the dunes. The first few holes are relatively flat. There's dunes off to the left. There's actually a lake to the right on the second hole, which you have to be careful of. You'll see a lot of putting from off the green, which is something I do quite a lot up there because the fairways are so smooth that the transition from fairway into green is really almost imperceptible in places. So keeping the ball low under the wind, using the undulations of the ground, of which there are many, kind of is what makes the course fun. So not a great first hole. You'll see actually the flags are wrapped because it is actually the wind. I said the wind wasn't too bad. It was still pretty severe. So this is the second hole. Again, it's fairly flat. It's beautiful. You see over to the left the dunes, which we'll be getting into over the next couple of holes. That shot was okay. So it drifted right a little bit in the rough, but the rough's been cut back for the winter. So that makes it a little bit easier. In the summertime, you'd be not finding that ball. It was a very cold day. I know I'm only wearing a sweater, but I am freezing, to be perfectly honest with you. Cold wind. Because it's an out and back course, the wind typically comes off the sea and a little bit from the south. So normally you've got the wind behind you on the front nine, which is great, but on the back nine, you are playing into the wind on most of the holes. So on the front nine, with the wind helping, you can hit monstrous drives, but on the back nine, you can be using uh, a five or even possibly a seven wood sometimes to just get to a par three. It's absolutely crazy. And if the wind is coming from a weird direction, then you might have real problems keeping the ball in play or let alone on the fairway. So this is the third hole. This is a longish par five. A series of mediocre shots gets me where I want to be. But this video is much more about showcasing the beauty of the course as opposed to the beauty of my golf game. Um, as I said, the wind was reasonably strong. As we get further in and a bit more exposed, it picks up, and in a few holes time, it actually breaks the tripod which I was using for my camera. So you're only going to be subjected to watching me play terrible golf for a couple of holes, and then after that, it's really just going to be me talking about the course. Yeah, so some scenery shots there. The greens are fairly long at the moment. It's a feature of links golf that the greens are fairly long anyway, because a very fast green, very high winds, the ball would actually just blow away, which is something you don't want. So the putting is a little bit different. This is a great hole, par four, usually with the wind behind. There are a couple of deepish valleys to the left, just in front of the green, which are best avoided. That shot's hilarious. It stayed about 3 foot off the ground, rolled, flew about 100 meters, and then rolled on for about another 120. Um, Again, one of the features, I'm actually just explaining that on the video here. So it sounds probably way down to keep the wind noise out. So yeah, so I'm in the first of the series of valleys. They're not usually that punitive, but sometimes if you're deep in them, it's actually very hard. Well, you can't see the green, and sometimes you can't even see the flag. They're that deep. So yeah, that one didn't turn out great. It went a bit right. Wind pushed it a bit. It was a pitching wedge. Left me just off the green. And again, you're going to see a putting from off the green. I've got quite a lot of I've got an awful lot of lead tape on that putter actually, because I'm trying to add weight to it, which I find very useful for putting in these on these sort of this grass and this sort of green. And then I do what I normally do, which is get it close, and then I believe, if not mistaken, I messed this one up as well. Oh no, that one actually went in. That's a nice surprise. So this is very sharp dog leg to the left. The tiger line is actually over the second from the left white stake. I don't tend to hit it that far, so I'm going a little bit more middle of the fairway. This one's going to wind up on the far side of the fairway, just in the light rough, which will give me a good approach into a very, very elevated green. Very undulating fairways in this course. This one's actually relatively smooth as some of the fairways go. You'll see later on in this video and in the part two. Camera actually fell over there. You'll see in the part two that some of the fairways are just unbelievably bumpy. But again, that's links golf. That's kind of what makes it fun. So top that, but the end result was okay. That was actually the last shot that I filmed, which is unfortunate that was such a bad one because at this point the tripod broke. Again, there's a view over one of the little bays. This golf course is situated basically just behind Narin Portnoo Beach, and that's the continuation of the beach. I'm sure it has a different name, but I don't know what it is. Driving up now, this is a fantastic one of the signature holes, I think. It's a beautiful par three. Um, you're hitting from basically from the top of one dune to the top of another dune. Bit of a beautiful view of there of the beaches and the bay. So yeah, you're hitting over that valley. If you're short, you're gone. If you're long, you're gone. If you're right, you're really gone. Bit of a bailout to the left, but basically you just want to hit the green. So driving through the valley to get to the green from the other angle. There's a very big two-tier on this green. Not really visible there. This next hole, though, I'm going to say they're beautiful a lot. But this one really is. You're hitting from the top of a dune down to a valley. You can't see the green. It's tucked behind that little hill there on the right. But a good shot will get you relatively close, and then your little chip on. This green's actually nestled right up against the sea. And you'll see in a moment, well, you'll see now actually, that if you're slightly long, you're on the rocks, maybe on the beach. Um, but this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous hole. This one is super intimidating. It's a long tee shot. This fairway is actually split in two. So you either have to play up a little bit or hit a really good long one to go over a cliff. To all intents and purposes, the fairway split. If you go right, you're in the rocks in the Atlantic, basically. So this is driving up the first part of the fairway, again, super bumpy. Then there's a cliff. They've just recently put that marker post in to give people a line, which is nice. And then there's the whole second half of the hole. Gorgeous hole. That was a pretty good shot I hit, to be honest with you. Didn't leave me too much to go. There's another big grass bunker behind. So if you go really long, you're in the rocks and in the sea. If you go moderately long, you're in a bit of a depression. Now, this is a cute little par three, fairly simple, but again, short trouble, right trouble, left trouble. Just hit the green, I think is the answer there. And there's the Donegal Bay with a little island whose name escapes me. So there you go. That is the front nine. Second video will be released fairly shortly with the back nine. And like I say, This one's not about watching me play golf. This one's about enjoying the gorgeousness that is Narin and Portnoo links.